Thank you. All right. So I will give a land acknowledgement for Georgian Bay for our eastern and northern coasts. We acknowledge that the land on which we are meeting and with respect to which we are meeting is home to many Indigenous peoples, and that the Wickwemcong, Whitefish River, Magnetawan, Henvey Inlet, Wattamoak, Chinmising Beausoleil, Shawniga, Moose Deer Point, Wasauksing, and Daucus First Nations have been living here on ancestral lands and unceded territories since time immemorial. I would also like to point out that tonight I'm sitting next to Spadina Road, and the name Spadina is an Anishinaabeg word, Ishpadina, and Spadina itself is an ancient footpath that goes from the shore of Lake Ontario up the old shore of what the geologists call Lake Algonquin, and it's part of an ancient portage trail. All right, thank you very much for that, everybody. I'm also going to introduce Andrew Hurlbut, who is the chair of our awesome Boating Safety and Emergencies Committee. He's worked with our BrokerLink partners to develop a presentation and a set of topics that we hope will interest you all tonight, and we're really looking forward to hearing from everybody. I would like to point out, last thing, that if we don't get through everybody's questions tonight, Andrew, our communications coordinator, Shannon, and I are going to be following up with BrokerLink so that we can make sure that everybody gets an answer to their questions. All right, now I'm going to turn the mic over to Taylor Payne from BrokerLink.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meredith. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Meredith, Shannon, and Andrew for facilitating this webinar and having us on to speak with you all. And thank you to all of you for showing interest in today's session and joining us. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you find it insightful. I'll just give a quick introduction to our BrokerLink team here. So my name is Taylor Payne. I am a business development specialist here at BrokerLink. Part of my job is to manage the relationship between the Georgian Bay Association and BrokerLink. And I also manage several of our other group insurance programs. With me today, I have my colleague, Robin Knight. She is a level 3 insurance broker out of our Parry Sound branch. And Robin has been in the insurance industry and with BrokerLink for the past 20 years. And Robin will be the one that will be answering most of your insurance questions tonight. With me as well, I have my colleague, Salar Shamsi. He is also a business development specialist here at BrokerLink, and he manages several other of our group insurance programs. And then lastly, I do have Patricia Hamer with me here as well. She is a client experience leader out of our Parry Sound branch as well. With that being said, I'll give a quick introduction to BrokerLink. So BrokerLink is a 100% Canadian-owned brokerage established in 1991. We're made up of about 5,000 employees right now. We currently operate as one of Canada's largest property and casualty brokerages, with more than 80 branches across Ontario and more than 200 across Canada. Some of our branches closest to the Georgian Bay area, depending on where you're located, would be Parry Sound, Owen Sound, Little Current, and Midland. But you can also find our branch locator tool on our website, where you can just put in your postal code and it will let you know the closest branch to you. BrokerLink has been in the group insurance space for more than 25 years. And more specifically, we've been a proud group insurance partner of the Georgian Bay Association for just over 5 years. BrokerLink is committed to supporting community initiatives, whether that be alongside Habitat for Humanity, participating in neighborhood cleanups, or fundraising for local charities. Some of the advantages of being with BrokerLink. So we provide exceptional service in a way that's convenient for you. So you can decide how you want to be serviced by us, whether it be by phone, email, or in person at one of our 80 community branches. Whatever works best for your needs, we'll be there for you. BrokerLink understands that insurance is not a one-size-fits-all solution. We work with just over 40 different insurance companies. So depending on the risk and your insurance needs, we'll try our hardest to have the best option for you. Our team of brokers will take you through the entire quoting process from start to finish and provide you with options that will offer you comprehensive coverage, but also for competitive rates. On top of your preferred rates, our markets do offer additional discounts to help you bring your premium down. Some good examples would be, retiree discount, mortgage-free, claims-free, new business loyalty. Those are just a few, but the list really is endless. And our team will work with you to uncover as many as you're eligible for and get those added onto your policy. Lastly, here we just have our BrokerLink Connect app, which you can download directly in the App Store. This allows you to quickly access your policy documents, request any changes, and also report and track any claims. So as you can see here, we offer solutions for all lines of insurance. Outside of just your standard home and auto insurance, we do work with a number of specialized markets. And we also have a very large commercial department as well. Unfortunately, we don't have any commercial reps here today, so I will put their contact information at the end of this presentation. So, I do encourage you, if you do have any commercial or business needs, that you reach out to them. One more thing I wanted to highlight here is we do also have a designated department for non-standard auto insurance. So we work with all the high-risk insurance companies within the market. So if you have maybe, a non-favorable driving record, our team will help place you with the best option available and then ensure that you're placed back with a standard company as soon as your record allows for it. I know there was quite a few questions surrounding, what is the group insurance program for Georgian Bay Association members? What are the discounts? Which insurance company offers these discounts? So I'll just quickly touch on that. So BrokerLink offers a group insurance program for all members of the Georgian Bay Association. Members have access to exclusive discounts on their home and auto insurance. These discounts are up to 17% on your auto insurance and up to 15% on your property insurance. Members have access to, on top of those discounts, you can receive an additional 18% if you decide to bundle those policies. The exclusive discount program for Georgian Bay Association members is underwritten by Intact Insurance. Members can also benefit from 0% interest fees on their insurance policies. So just to give you an idea, so those are typically about 1 to 3%. So members just have to pay for the policy premium, no additional interest on top of that. In the event that a member runs into a claim, our claims advocacy team will support you through the entire process and advocate for a fair and equitable settlement on your behalf. And lastly, we just have our dedicated group insurance phone line here and landing page on our website for quick and easy quoting process for all members. And I'll just quickly touch on a contest that we have running right now. So we have the Better Together sweepstakes. This is a contest that we're running all year long this year. And all you need to do is just get a quote on your home or auto insurance, or both, your choice. And this is open to all BrokerLink group members. So all members of the Georgian Bay Association do qualify for this contest. And the prize is a chance to win one of 12 $1,000 cash prizes. So every month we're drawing a name to win $1,000. So just a good chance to make a little extra cash. All right. This is an agenda of the topics that we'll briefly be covering over the next little bit. Like Meredith said, feel free to continue throwing any questions you might have in the Q&A box. I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer before we get started here. So unfortunately, we won't be able to answer any questions regarding any open, ongoing, or closed claims. For those, we just ask that you reach out to your current provider or your claims adjuster for that claim, as they would have the full scope of the situation and be able to answer correctly for you. As mentioned before, unfortunately, we don't have any commercial team members here today. So I please just ask that you hold on to those questions. And at the end of the slide, I will have contact information for them. And again, I encourage you to reach out to them if you have any business or commercial needs. And lastly, any questions that are very specific or unique to, one situation or the pricing of your insurance or anything like that, we might just require you just to call in and get a quote with us. That way we can assess the risk accordingly and give you the best possible answer. All that being said, we will do the best to answer all the questions we can today, and any unanswered questions or questions that we might have to take away, I will ensure that those get answered and sent over to Andrew, Shannon, and Meredith to get out to you guys. Okay? Awesome. Well, with that being said, I think we'll move on to our first topic here, and that is primary versus seasonal. So, a lot of members had questions, why can't my cottage be treated as a second home? Am I still covered during the season when I'm not there, like in the winter time? And what if damage occurs while I'm not there and not able to report it immediately? And I'm going to now pass it off to my colleague, Robin Knight.
All right. Thank you, Taylor. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so primary versus seasonal insurance. Why can't your cottage be treated as a secondary home? Well, there are factors that come into play to determine the use of the cottage. If the home is set up like a regular home, so fully insulated with an approved heating system, located on an open maintained road and occupied about half the time as your primary residence and on a year-round basis, that can be considered as a secondary home. Under a homeowner's seasonal broad form with intact insurance, the cottage needs to be located on an open maintained road, have an improved heating system, and must be occupied every 90 days. So are you still covered during the season when you're not there? Yes, you would be covered during the seasons that the cottage is not accessible, as long as any water in the cottage is drained properly for the colder seasons to prevent freezing. Some companies require that the company be checked every 30 to 90 days. As long as you have intent to return to for the cottage season, the cottage is not considered vacant, as vacancy is not covered under an insurance policy. So vacant means no intent of returning. All insurance policies have a clause specifying that there is no coverage if the home is vacant unless it is proved by the insurance company. And what if damage occurs while you're not there, not able to report it immediately? Of course, it's always best to have someone check the cottage every 30 to 60 days, but I know this can happen with a lot of locations. Once you are aware of the damage, you have up to 1 year to report the loss to the insurance company.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. All right, our next segment here, replacement cost versus actual cash value. This was definitely a popular one. And I think a lot of Georgian Bay members want to know, what is the difference between the two and how is it calculated at BrokerLink? Go ahead, Robin.
Thank you. Okay, so replacement cost is the cost to rebuild based on today's cost of material and labor. Actual cash value is replacement cost less depreciation. This is the difference between coverages offered by the insurance companies. For example, Intact Insurance has two types of policies. They have their seasonal homeowners broad form and then their seasonal standard form, which is your fire and extended coverages form. The basis of claim payment is for seasonal standard is actual cash value, so there is depreciation involved. The seasonal homeowners broad form is based on replacement cost with the option of guaranteed replacement cost, but that has to be referred on a case-to-case basis. Guaranteed replacement costs means the insurer agrees to pay the actual cost of rebuilding your insured home with similar materials and workmanship after a covered loss, even when the cost is higher than the amount of insurance on the policy. BrokerLink uses a replacement cost calculator that is approved by the insurance companies that we deal with. The calculator includes debris removal and, of course, all the costs to build a home, which includes today's cost of material and labor. Extra costs are included in the rater for locations accessible by water only.
Thank you, Robin. Next topic we have here is island cottages. And I understand that this is a situation that lots of Georgian Bay Association members face. So a lot of them wanted to know, are there companies willing to insure my island cottage? And again, am I still covered during the seasons when, maybe I can't get to the cottage? So back to you, Robin.
Okay. So yes, there are companies that will insure cottages that are located on an island or accessible by boat only. Some of these companies include Intact Insurance, Gore Mutual Insurance, Wawanesa Insurance, and Definity Insurance. But every company has their own underwriting guidelines and coverages. Considerations include use of the cottage, days of occupancy, type of utilities in the cottage. So is there electrical, plumbing, and main heat other than a wood stove? And how often the cottage is checked. And are you covered during the season it's not accessible? So yes, you are covered for during that time, as stated earlier, as long as any water in the cottage is drained properly for the colder seasons to prevent freezing. Again, some companies require it to be checked every 30 days, and if you have intent to return, then it's not considered vacant.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Next, we have here liability coverage. A lot of members wanted to know how much liability coverage should they have on their cottage. Go ahead, Robin.
Okay, so most carriers' maximum liability offered is 2 million, but some offer as high as 5 million. Umbrella policies could be considered to give the higher liability to all that you own, being your home, cottage, autos, boats, recreational vehicles. We are finding that people are suing for more, so it is best to have a minimum 2 million liability, as the cost from 1 million to 2 million liability on property insurance is very minimal. Also, when an insurance company insures both your home and seasonal, personal and premise liability is included in the policy. This gives liability for the premise. If someone were on your property and they hurt themselves due to your negligence, there is coverage. Personal liability follows you everywhere you go. If the insurance company only insures your seasonal location, the liability will only be covered for that location only, nothing beyond.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. And yeah, just to go off what Robin said, always go for the higher amount of liability. So usually it's 2 million in most cases. Like Robin said, on property policies, it's typically only a few dollars a month in price difference between 1 and 2 million. And then on auto insurance, you're looking anywhere between about 10 to $20 a month in price difference. But given that difference, it's definitely worth it to have the higher liability coverage. So that's awesome. All right. This was definitely a popular one as well. Short-term rentals. A lot of people wanted to know, can I rent my cottage out? Are there companies that will offer coverage for this? Can I rent my cottage out if I'm on an island? And can I let my renters use my boat? Go ahead, Robin.
Okay. So Intact Insurance does have a short-term rental program, but it has to be referred to the company on a case-to-case basis. It is only through recognized platforms or home sharing networks such as Airbnb, Flipkey, HomeAway, Chalets, Swimply, or Verbo. Otherwise, the wordings for seasonal policies excludes any renting to others and damage caused by renters. BrokerLink does have access to other companies that will allow short-term rental for seasonal locations, like Wawanesa, Premier Insurance, Ford Insurance, Gore Mutual, and some do insure cottages on an island with the short-term rental coverage. Can you let renters use your boat? Under personal lines, there is no company that will allow boats being rented to others. We do have a commercial department that could help with this.
Perfect. All right, next we have marine insurance, and I'll just pass it right back to you, Robin.
Okay. So, in order to insure your boat, all boats must be registered in Canada and all operators must carry a pleasure craft card. Can you let others drive your boat? Yes, you may allow friends to operate the watercraft occasionally if they carry a valid pleasure craft card. And are you covered for pollution, spillage, and wreckage removal? Not all companies include coverage for pollution spillage, but some do, as well as wreckage removal. Riders on a cottage policy for boats tend not to include all the extra coverages on the policy, therefore would recommend boats be insured under a separate policy with a specialized marine market to be fully covered. So there are riders that can be added to your seasonal policy for boats. However, for higher valued boats, it is recommended to insure them on a separate marine policy. So for example, if you had a rider on your cottage policy for a boat and you had a claim on your boat, then that's a claim against your cottage. Then you have an actual claim on the cottage in the next year or so. Well, now you have two claims on the cottage in the last 3 years, and some companies would not renew the policy. So it is best to always have more comprehensive coverage to have it on a separate boat policy.
Thank you, Robin. And next we have wildlife and environmental. And the two main questions that we got for this topic was, does my policy automatically include water damage coverage for overland water and sewer septic backup? And then the second part was, do policies typically cover damage caused by vermin, insects, or rodents? And I'll let you answer that one, Robin.
Okay. So for overland water and sewer septic backup coverage, that is an optional coverage. So that coverage includes backup or escape of water from a sewer, storm drain, sump pump, or septic tank. Intact Insurance only offers $10,000 in coverage with a $2,000 deductible under the seasonal homeowner's broad form. This coverage is not offered under the seasonal standard form. Other companies do offer this coverage, but it depends on the type of coverage the cottage is being insured for. So do policies typically cover damage caused by vermin, insects, and rodents? Most insurance policies do not cover damage caused by birds, vermin, insects, raccoons, bats, skunks, or rodents, except loss or damage to the building glass. Damage caused by bears is a peril that Intact Insurance covers, but not every company will insure for damage caused by bears.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Next, we have the bunkie and the boathouse. And I think a lot of members just wanted to know, is this included in my policy? Do I need a separate policy for it? And I'll pass it back to you, Robin, for you to answer that.
Okay. So most seasonal homeowners policies would include an automatic extension of coverage from the building limit of the minimum is 10%, depends on the company. So for example, if you had your cottage insured for 500,000, then you would have automatic extension of 50,000 for any outbuildings. In some cases, this can be increased to include boathouse, sheds, or small basic bunkies. But if you had a bunkie that had heating, electrical, and plumbing, most companies would require that the bunkie be shown as a separate location under the policy.
Awesome. And just before we get into our next topic of discussion here, I do just want to start off by saying that our heart goes out to all the families and wildlife that were affected by the forest fires that were happening here in Ontario and all across Canada. I think given the situation, there was a lot of questions arising from Georgian Bay members about am I covered in the event of a forest fire? And then is there coverage for debris removal after the fire? And then for my island cottage, would my policy cover the additional cost of barging materials to remove the debris or rebuild after the fire?
Okay. So are you covered for the event of a forest fire? Yes, absolutely, as fire is the main peril of insurance. Debris removal is included in the limit of insurance on an insurance policy. For island locations, the replacement cost calculator would have to show access by water only to include the extra cost of barging to rebuild the cottage and for debris removal. Therefore, the policy would include the extra cost, but only up to the policy limit on your declaration page. And just a note too about trees and shrubs. So under certain policies, for example, Intact's seasonal homeowners broad form, there is coverage for outdoor trees, shrubs, plants, and lawns, but only up to 5% of the building limit, and they will not pay more than $1,000 for any one tree, plant, or shrub, including debris removal expenses.
Thank you, Robin. All right. Now, I think this wins as probably the most asked question by Georgian Bay members. And that is, why are my insurance premiums increasing year after year? I'll let you answer that, Robin.
Okay. So when it comes to property insurance, generally you will see an increase in premium on a yearly basis as the insurance companies add inflation to the building's limit each year. Other factors include rate increases by the insurance companies or if you had a prior claim. Unfortunately, rate increases are happening with insurance companies on a regular basis due to the increase in claims in Canada, with the change in weather patterns happening all across the provinces. So, insurance is essentially a risk sharing system, which means thousands of people contribute relatively small amounts of money so that the few who suffer large, unpredictable losses can be compensated. So, you're not saving your own money in insurance. Instead, you're paying into a collective pool that protects everyone in the group from financial disasters. But the best part of BrokerLink is that it's insurance brokerage. Therefore, we represent different insurance companies. We have the ability to quote with other companies to find better premiums for your insurance needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. That pretty much concludes our presentation portion of today's session. We can now go into the highly anticipated Q&A box section. And before I pass it over to my colleague, Salar, um, to run through the questions with Robin, I thought maybe I could give Robin a little bit of a break and I can answer some of the questions that we got prior to today's session, if that's okay with you, Salar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Awesome. Perfect. One of the questions that we got here is, what is the difference in cost between land versus water access cottages? And I believe Robin touched on this pretty briefly, but I'll just kind of reiterate. So rates obviously do vary depending on which company you're placed with, but commonly it is about a 25% increase for water access properties or very remote locations. Another question we got here is, how can you fireproof the forest around the cottage? And to answer that, while we do have some resources and tips on how to prepare for a forest fire on our website, when it comes to actually fireproofing your property, I would highly suggest you reach out to the local fire department. They would definitely be the best resource for that. And then I got a question here. If dockside and people indulge from their own cooler rather than yours, what is the difference? Um, and I guess to kind of put this question where I can answer it, I'm going to assume that, this member is asking if someone is coming over, and say, for example, they're coming over to drink on your dock, and they're drinking out of their own cooler rather than your cooler, would that make a difference if they got hurt on your property? The answer is no, there's no difference. Whether someone's drinking out of their own cooler or your cooler, you would still be liable if that person was to get hurt or injured while on your property. And those are just a few questions that I thought I would just answer, give Robin a break, but I will pass it back to my colleague Salar Shamsi, who will go through some of your Q&A box questions. Back to you, Salar.
Thanks, Taylor. So we did get a couple of questions. I'll just use this opportunity to remind anyone, if you have any outstanding questions, feel free to drop them in the QA box. There's a couple that I believe Robin also answered indirectly. Chris asked us about water access properties. As Robin alluded to, we have a variety of options, including Intact. We have Wawanisa, we have Gore. Those are typically reviewed on a case-to-case basis. It's always best to, call in to our line just so we're able to confirm the exact specs of your property. And then look at that. And for Ted, we did confirm that the presentation will be available to all participants. Robin, we've just got a quick question here. It feels a little specific to a property, but it does speak to fireplace, chimneys, and real stones. So I'll give you a chance if you wanted to respond to that. Glenn Morton asked, our real log cabin was built in 1935. Has a real stone fireplace chimney with a metal glass insert. Can a policy be renewed or get a new policy without a fireplace insert? We have a water lot, which we have paid property tax since 1935. And then the final question, I think, just adding on there is, does liability insurance cover the water lot, which includes the land to the high water mark? So if you want to take at least a poke at that there, Robin.
Oh, geez. Okay. So the first part of that, sorry, it was because I can't see the question.
Yeah, no worries.
Can I
It's the
see
first
it
part of it is
or?
just the real stone fireplace
Oh, I do
chimney.
see it now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do see it here. Okay. So okay, can a policy be renewed or get a new policy without a fireplace insert? Well, it sounds like it's just a regular open fireplace. When it comes to any wood auxiliary heat, the insurance companies mainly look at wood stove, pellet stoves, and fireplace inserts. Just a regular open fireplace. It's not normally something that you would need a wet inspection on. So it just depends, if it's in good shape and everything there. Of course, they would probably require photos. Again, every company is kind of different that way. Does liability cover the water lot? Sorry, I'm not really understanding.
Property tax since 1935. Does the liability cover the water lot?
Water lot.
Is that in relation to a claim? We'll just need a little bit more information maybe on that, Robin. So
Yeah,
they can
I'm not
always,
really sorry.
call
I'm
in.
not
Yeah,
really understanding. Yeah.
that's okay, Robin. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, we might not have familiarity with water lots, but I can definitely take that question away if you want there, Robin, and get a little more information and send it back to the Georgian Bay Association.
Absolutely. Thanks, Taylor. We had another question here from Kathy. Robin, I'll take this one just to give your vocal cords a little break. Basically, we mentioned Intact, obviously, repeatedly during the presentation. And then I think she just asked if Intact is your main competitor or competition, then are others considered? So I'll just kind of allude to this here. The exclusive program that Taylor alluded to during the presentation that offers a 17% discount on auto insurance and a 15% discount on property insurance. That's exclusively underwritten by Intact Insurance. But BrokerLink widely has access to several markets. And, in certain situations, if there's a risk that doesn't meet Intact's appetite, we can always go to a Gore, we can always go to a Wawanisa. In the cases of marine insurance, we have options like Forward, Premier Insurance, Premier Marine. So it just depends on the kind of, risk you're working with, but absolutely Intact has all the options. But I hope that answers your question, Kathy. The group discount is specific only to Intact.
Yep, and I can actually just add on to that, Salar.
Sure,
So
absolutely. Go
when
ahead.
you do a quote here at BrokerLink as a Georgian Bay Association member, our hope is that the program is the cheapest option for you, but it may necessarily not be. There might be other companies that offer better coverage for you, and might also offer a cheaper price than the group insurance program we have with Intact. So just know that when you do call in to get a quote, we are offering you the cheapest option for you, whether or not it's with Intact and with the group insurance program. So I hope that answers your question there, Kathy, and I'll pass it back to you, Salar. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. So Kathy had just a follow-up question there. Is there a dollar limit on coverage of a seasonal property? My company has a limit and I cannot increase my cottage coverage now. So if you want to take a look at that, Robin.
Yeah, so every insurance company has what their appetite is for limits of insurance. So it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like that, yeah, they have their limit, but normally inflation is added every year. So, like I said, yeah, every insurance company has their different limits. So that's all on there. Yeah.
I believe there's not much we can say there.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
question. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I can
Of
actually add
course,
on
go
to
ahead.
that one. I think maybe she's
Please.
asking, and maybe I'm wrong, but Kathy is maybe talking about the rebuild limit on her policy, and that number likely came from whatever program the insurance company is using for that. So typically, it's not something that you can change. It's what's done in the system. So yes, it is likely that they put a limit, and that's how much they're saying that they're able to pay out on your cottage.
Exactly. And as Robin mentioned, I think in the beginning of our presentation, the reconstruction costs also vary year to year because of certain factors with inflation and other factors that go into rebuilding costs. So those are just certain things to keep in mind. And absolutely, if you think your property is undervalued, it's worth a conversation. Call in and make sure that it's being valued at a rate that you at least feel comfortable with. So Liam, I had a question here. Will the cash prizes be a live raffle? I can take that. They're unfortunately not a live raffle, but I can assure you it's done with utmost integrity. And then Sue had a question here as well. What is the extent of coverage on a seasonal property for docks? If you can answer that one for us, Robin.
Yeah, so the docks are included under detached structures like outbuildings. So that would have to be shown on there. Coverage wise, there are limits for that. So like if, big waves and that kind of thing, it's just docks are not covered for those type of things. But yeah, it is, be covered for fire. And I guess that would be basically it for that. But yeah, it'll be under your detached structures coverage.
And Robin, there was a question that I saw come through earlier regarding docks, and it was, are my docks covered if ice was to damage it? I guess that kind of, answers that question is no, likely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it will say in your policy wordings what exactly you are covered for and whether or not it does include your dock in that policy.
Absolutely. And I think that's pretty much all the active questions we've received so far. Ted just sent in a question. What is the current estimate for replacement cost per square foot on seasonal dwellings? So this I know does vary from carrier to carrier, Robin, but I don't know if there's a rough ballpark average industry standard you're able to share.
I honestly do not know that because I just reuse the replacement cost calculator and that's just based on today's cost. So, and, putting in there if it's accessible by water only, then that, of course, brings up the replacement cost.
Yeah, it is something that's kind of done in the back end and not something that, we kind of just know off the top of our head. So that's why it's so important. If you do want to know, how much it's going to be to insure your cottage, that you just give us a call and we can take you through a quote, and tell you exactly, how much it's going to be.
Then Deborah just asked us if the webinar would be available. Absolutely, the webinar will be available shortly after its completion. I believe Shannon will take care of sharing all of that with you guys. We had a question here from Caroline. Would a detached garage be treated like a bunkie?
A detached garage is and is considered an outbuilding, so it would be treated like a basic bunkie as an outbuilding. If you get into garages that are maybe have living quarters in it, they have they're more kind of set up like a home with a garage, then that would have to be shown as a separate location on the policy.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. And then just a quick reminder, if there's any other follow-up questions, to drop them in the Q&A. Taylor, I believe Shannon also sent us a quick couple of questions before we started from the registration, so we can take a couple from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that'll just allow some people to drop, questions in the Q&A if they'd like.
Absolutely. Yep, I've got a couple here. Here's one for you, Robin. I'm unsure if personal belongings left at the cottage are fully protected.
Okay, so depends on the policy that you have, but most policies have automatic coverage for contents. And some companies have to, even some policies, have to put in the amount of contents that you have. Again, it depends on the type of policy that you have. If you have coverage for theft or for vandalism and that kind of thing. So it honestly really depends on the type of policy and what it reads as far as the contents.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Does insurance cover damage caused by fallen trees?
Yes, that is a peril that is on in every insurance policy. So falling objects would be included.
Awesome. I'm worried about burst pipes when the cottage is closed for winter. I think you briefly touched on this, but if you want to just reiterate.
Yes. So when you are closing up the cottage for the winter, you must drain all the water from the pipes in order to prevent any freezing and bursting on that. And that's usually under the wordings for water damage that you have to during the heating season to drain your pipes.
Awesome. I've got one here. I'm concerned about coverage if someone is injured on my dock or shoreline. And I'm assuming that would fall under the liability coverage, but I'll let you get into that, Robin.
Yes. So anything like that, yes, liability would be would respond. Your liability coverage would respond in the event that you were sued due to if somebody got hurt on your property.
Awesome. Let's see what else we got here. I want to know if watercraft and boating equipment can be insured.
Yes. So just yes. Yeah. Yeah, like under when you have a specialized marine policy, like not as a rider, you got the extra coverages as far as your fishing equipment, and you can increase that coverage, and yeah, it just depends on what you have extra for your boat.
Perfect. And I guess just for maybe some people listening that don't know, I don't know if you're able to explain just in like maybe simple terms kind of what a rider is. I know we've used that term a couple
Right.
times.
Yeah, no, I get that. So it's just an extension off of your cottage policy. So it's attached to the cottage, but it's specifically insured on your policy as a rider.
Awesome. Let me see here.
So we're
Does
getting some feedback also in the Q&A box here. Liam, we appreciate it. He's rating it with a 5-star. And, we're really trying where possible to not use any insurance jargon, we call it. It's as in layman's terms as possible. And if you guys have any questions, I know it is a lot of information to process. We'll share how you can reach out to us at the end of this presentation. But if you have any questions after that, feel free to reach out to Shannon, Andrew, Meredith, and I'm sure they'll get the question to us as well. And then Deborah just asked if it will absolutely be available after the webinar will be available after it ends. So there's a couple of other questions.
We've got here one from Ted Branch. Can American insureds voluntarily provide their credit scores for rating purposes? Great question, Ted. I know this might be in relation to another program that we have for maybe the Iron City fishing. This is something that we are working on. So to answer that question, in some cases, it does need to be referred to the company. We are working in the back end to find a solution for that because typically the answer is no. But yeah, just to answer that question for you, Ted.
Thank you. And I believe that is the last question we've got in the QA box here. If there's any others, absolutely feel free to put those through in the next couple of minutes.
Let me see if I've got any more here that we can. I'm worried. This is a really question, but maybe Robin, you can speak a little bit to it. I'm worried about storm damage from strong winds off the bay.
Okay. So windstorm is a covered peril. So your basic perils on any policy is your fire, lightning, windstorm, hail, and falling objects. So yeah, absolutely, that would be covered.
Awesome. Does my policy cover damage from ice and snow during the winter?
Would it be weight of ice and snow? Is that what we're probably referring to? I would think.
For the question purposes, let's say yes.
Yes.
Right. So it depends on the coverage that you have and the company that you're with, because that is not always a covered peril. So.
Exactly. And we've tried to avoid claim-specific questions, Robin, but a couple similar themes if we want to address this. So if there's any damage occurring to a property while the insured is away and there's a delay in reporting the damage. Hypothetically, let's use a couple of weeks. Are we able to answer that to that if you're comfortable?
Sorry, you're saying like as far as how much time?
Yeah,
Is
exactly as far as how much time. We've
yes.
got a couple of questions in a similar vein, just worded differently.
Yeah,
So I thought if
and
you mind.
I did mention that for when it comes to property insurance, you do have up to 1 year to report it. So there is that
Absolutely.
time.
Thanks, Robin.
Uh,
Andrew, would you want to address the fireproofing property portion, please? I think Andrew might just be having
Sorry,
audio
which
issues.
question is that, Solar?
oh,
Oh,
Hi.
I think Andrew was just looking to address fireproofing for the properties.
Yes, I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Go right ahead.
Okay, so that's an excellent question, and one as your Boating Safety and Emergencies Committee we've written to many times. There's actually an excellent program in Canada called Fire Smart, and it's run across Canada. Check it out. They have an excellent guide that describes not only how to fireproof your house in many ways, but also your surrounding property. And without going into too many details, it is on the GBA website. You can dig it up, and we will be posting about it again. It's an excellent question, and it's an excellent product. Check out the Fire Smart brochure.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Um, I got a question here, Robin. I want to know if my generator is covered under the policy.
yes, that would be covered under the contents because it's a part of it would be under your contents for that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And let me see what else I have here. I think you already touched on this, Robin, but does the policy include protection against vandalism during the off season?
So that all depends on the type of policy that you carry. Some some policies like your intact standard form, that is an optional coverage that because it's not included under the peril, so you have to add an endorsement for vandalism.
Awesome. And I've got one here. Does the policy cover septic system failures?
Well, that would be the optional. So your sewer septic backup coverage, so includes sewer septic backup, sump pump failure, backup of drains. So it would be included in that if you had that coverage.
Perfect. Yeah. And you always just want to make sure whether or not you have the water damage coverage on your policy. Perfect.
Taylor, we can also just clarify on peril. I know it's a term we use very common in the insurance industry. Robin's touched on it a couple of times, but essentially it's just an event or a circumstance, that leads to a claim. It could be windstorm, fire. That's just a way of saying that we use in the insurance industry. So I just thought we'd clarify because we did see quite
Thank you.
a couple of inquiries there. And I do
Perfect.
see Kathy, I think, just asked about solar batteries. I'm not sure in the context, like are solar batteries an extra cost? So is that like the solar panels on the roof that are getting damaged? I'm just not understanding the context. If you want to clarify a little bit for us, Kathy.
Perfect. While we wait for Kathy, I've got one here. Robin, I think we kind of discussed this one before. Are there any insurance regulations unique to U.S. owners about to sell a waterfront cottage?
There is nothing other than if you're insured with us and you sell your cottage, please let us know. So there's nothing else that would be beyond that. Yeah.
Awesome. And then there were a lot of questions regarding insurance solutions for off-grid cottages. Just want to confirm with you, Robin, do we have companies that offer solutions for those types of situations?
Yep, there are companies that do allow that. As far as the solar panels, like all that stuff, we would add that into the replacement cost calculator. And so that way you've got the coverage for that. If you have the solar panels and you're maybe selling back to the grid, again, some of the companies have endorsements to cover that.
Perfect. And then just going back to Kathy's question, I think, Kathy, you're asking if there's coverage for your 6 panels and 4 batteries. I think Robin just touched on that a little bit, but Robin, unless you know about the batteries, that's a question that I can take away if you'd like and just confirm, maybe make some phone calls, check some underwriting manuals and just confirm that.
Yeah, if you could on that. I know I'm pretty sure the batteries are included because I know I always put in, and the companies require that the panels be put in to the replacement cost calculator as far as what the cost was for them for that. I would think the batteries would be a part of that, but yeah, I'm just not 100% sure at this point.
Yeah, no worries. I can cover that. I had one question here. Multiple cottages on one property. Can you insure it under one policy?
And that's where it comes into play. Like, what's the type of buildings that they are? What are they? Are they just small little sheds, small little bunkies? Are they fully heated? Do they have does each one have a kitchen, bathroom? And that's where we would just show it as a risk on for each building under the policy. So you can have
Gotcha.
multiple risks under one policy.
Thank you, Robin.
Awesome.
Taylor, I think we'll have Robin take a quick little break here.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question in the Q&A box, and I think it's best if you speak to it. Peter is just asking how they would prove a GBA membership to BrokerLink, and they call in. I think they're just asking about validation. If you'd like to speak to that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question, Peter. That is something that we work with our brokers a lot is making sure that they validate members, specifically for the Georgian Bay Association. And maybe Andrew or Meredith can just help me out here. I'm not sure if you guys provide any sort of, member ID number. So that's something that you could provide to us if you get those from the Georgian Bay Association. If you get any sort of membership email renewals, you could send us that. Just any sort of proof that you can show one of our brokers that you're a member of the association. That's totally fine. We can take that and note that on file. But I'm not sure, Andrew or Meredith, if you guys provide any of sorts of those things.
I'm not sure exactly how it works. But what I can say is anybody who phones in, we have records of all our members. So we can do a very quick verification for each and every case. If John Smith or Mary Turner are saying they're GBA members, we'll be able to tell you in literally 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Yep. Absolutely. And in the case of GBA, if a specific membership number isn't available, you can absolutely just identify as a Georgian Bay Association member to our brokers, and we'll rate the policy accordingly. Meredith, did you have something to add to that? Okay, sorry.
Awesome. Yeah, in some cases, we'll work with you. A broker might ask, if you have kind of a welcome to Georgian Bay Association email, or like I said, just any sort of proof just to show that you're a member. And yeah, if it's a situation where we really can't kind of prove it, we can kind of work with the association and help you out with that as well. I hope that answers your question, Peter. Awesome.
Thank you, Taylor. I believe that takes care of all the questions we had in the chat box here. We'll just wait another minute or so, just in case a couple of people are typing in. But I hope so far everybody's found the session informative. And I think we've answered quite a few questions from the registration box as well there, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm just going through right now just to see if there was any that I missed here. Yeah, I think we've covered everything here on the list. If there's something that has been missed, like I said, I will work effortlessly after this webinar to get those answers over to you. A lot of the questions that we received were kind of on the same theme. And there was, quite a few questions when it came to, do I have the right coverages on my policy? And I guess that the answer to that would be, we can't really tell unless we see the policy. So if you do want to call in, and we can look at the policy for you and walk you through it, or you can reach out to your current provider if you have specific questions on what's included on your policy. That's kind of the best way to do that. And then again, I highly suggest that you reach out to us and go through a quote. That's kind of the best way for us to answer a lot of these questions so that we can kind of see the whole situation and tell you exactly what's included. And yeah, if there's any more questions.
Taylor, I'll just quickly add
Yeah.
to the validation piece. I just want to ensure we're not confusing any of the members. We have a legacy agreement. I've just confirmed for Georgian Bay Associations. Georgian Bay Association members. So in the case where you don't have your membership number actively available, we're not trying to discourage anybody from calling in. You just need to identify yourself as a member of the Georgian Bay Association. Even if there's no membership number available, the discount still gets applied. So just call into us and identify as that. It's a legacy agreement that we have specifically in place under the Georgian Bay Association. So I just wanted to make sure all our participants were aware of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Salar. Well, if there are no other questions coming through in the Q&A box, we can maybe give you all back some time in your evening. I hope that we, answered the questions that we could and gave you some answers. Again, if there's anything that I missed, please feel free to reach out and I'll get that answered. And then I'm sure Shannon, Andrew, and Meredith will also let me know if there's anything else that I missed, and I will get those answers back to you guys. And I'm just going to go to my thank you slide. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Like I said, I hope you found it insightful. The winner of the $100 Visa gift card will be announced and sent their prize in the coming days. I will work with the association to get that out to you. You can visit your dedicated landing page on our website, brokerlink.ca/Georgian Bay Association for more information. Here is the contact information for our commercial department. So like I said, if you have any business or commercial needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our commercial department is awesome and can help you out with whatever it is that you need. And then lastly, I just want to quickly shout out our BrokerLink expert, Robin Knight. Thank you so much, Robin. I have put her details on the screen. Please reach out to her for a quote. She'll walk you through everything. She'll give you the best price. And yeah, thank you so much to Andrew, Shannon, and Meredith for having us on tonight. We really appreciate it and all the hard work that went into running tonight's session. And if there's nothing else, I will pass it back to you, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Taylor. And thank you, Salar. And thank you, Robin and Andrew and Shannon. I really appreciate the time and the thought, and I'm looking forward to following up with you guys. Everybody on the webinar, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Let us know if anything comes to mind, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the bay this summer. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.